Hey plant lovers, welcome to my channel. So in today's video I'm going to be listing my top 10 favourite big houseplants that have the potential to get large. So number one has got to be the big daddy of big plants, the Monstera Deliciosa. This plant actually climbs trees in the wild, but indoors as a houseplant it can still grow pretty large, up to 15 feet. And this plant also fenestrates as it grows. Fenestrates just means the holes in the leaves. So as the leaves mature, you get more holes in the leaves. Now it probably will take quite some time for a Monstera to get to 15 feet indoors, but it does happen given the right conditions. They are quite a large plant, and many people find that they aren't prepared for how big the plant will eventually get, and yeah, you eventually have to chop it. Because if you think 15 feet, that is definitely ceiling height for a lot of properties. Next is another type of Monstera. This time it's the Monstera Adansonii. And like its big brother, this one is also a climber and can reach heights of up to 8 feet. If you give this something to climb, it will just continue to grow and get huge. And this one is a little bit more compact than the Monstera Deliciosa, so it has smaller leaves, although they do get quite large. They are capable of getting quite big, say if you were to give it a moss pole, but in most cases indoors the leaves tend to stay fairly small. And this one really is a really popular plant. Lots of people have this one. I hear that years ago this one used to be quite hard to get hold of, but that was before I was into the houseplant hobby. These days you can get these anywhere, and they're super cheap too, and they also grow really fast too. So yeah, you'll get to see some height in this plant much quicker. Next is the Raven Zizi, and this one starts out with green leaves and they eventually turn into this gorgeous almost black colour. But this plant can actually grow to up to 3 feet tall, and so it makes a really excellent floor plant. It definitely gives a statement, and it's super easy to look after, just like its green cousin. The regular ZZ plant is so easy to care for, and yeah, it's a great plant if you just want to kind of forget about it, maybe water it once a month, that kind of thing. This is a really good plant for that. Next up it is the Syngonium, and there are so many different varieties of Syngoniums, but this one can actually reach up to 6 feet tall inside the home, and of course you will want to give it something to climb. This is actually quite a fast grower too, so it does grow really quickly, and yeah, this one could just continue to grow upwards for you. In the wild this one also grows up really tall. All these plants out in the wild in their natural habitat, they do grow much larger, so in our homes they kind of seem large in comparison to our homes, but if you were to see them out in the wild they do get much bigger, because obviously they're outside and in their natural environment. Next up is the Philodendron Imperial Green, and this one is one of my favourite plants. It has huge glossy leaves. It can actually grow up to 3 to 4 feet tall. This is actually a compact growing philodendron, but I have mine on a pole because I like to give it a bit of support to grow up, because it does tend to be quite heavy. I've seen people just grow them without support though, but this is just my preference. But I found that yeah, the plant grows really well like this. And it does need its leaves cleaning really regularly, this one. I find that I need to clean leaves on this plant far more often than I do lots of my other plants, because it has such large leaves and they do collect the dust. Next is the Bird of Paradise, and this plant can actually reach a whopping 10 feet indoors. And of course outside it's going to be even bigger, as I said before, but 10 feet indoors is pretty large. It's definitely going to be making its way towards your ceiling, depending on how tall your ceilings are. But yeah, this is a huge plant, and it's really excellent for giving you that sort of indoor jungle tropical look too. And yeah, I wouldn't say it was the fastest growing plant, so you are going to have to wait a little bit of time before it gets to that stage, but it's very easy to care for, and yeah, it's really a no fuss plant. I found it to be super simple to look after. Next up is the Dracaena Marginata, also known as the dragon tree, and this can actually grow up to 6 feet. So it is a bit like having a mini tree in your house, and these look really cool too when they get long. You kind of get a long trunk on them, and then you've got these really cool kind of spiky leaves. I think they're really cool. And yeah, they're a really easy plant again. Really, you can get away with watering this one whenever it's fully dry. I always let mine dry out all the way before I water it. I give it good bright indirect light, and it seems happy with that. It's one of those really simple to look after plants. It doesn't really cause any nuisance, and those are the kind of plants I like. But yeah, it's probably going to take me quite a number of years before mine gets big, and they do take a while, but you can, if you are in a rush, just buy a big one from the garden centre. I prefer in the most part to just buy a smaller one and grow it at home, but you can just buy them big if you just want the plant to be big straight away. Next up is the rubber plant, and these can actually grow up to 10 feet tall indoors. I don't know if you've ever seen massive ones of these in the garden centres, but I certainly have. Don't think I've seen a 10-foot one, but that is pretty big, isn't it? I am so excited for mine to get that big. I really hope that it does. But yeah, these can grow huge, and not only do they grow tall, their leaves get massive too. And the great thing about rubber plants is that they come in so many different varieties. Not only that, but they are known for being super easy to care for. And yeah, they're the sort of plant you can just have in your home, enjoy, and yeah, just water it when it's dry, give it bright indirect light. The same kind of advice really that I would probably give for the majority of plants. But yeah, I definitely recommend the rubber plant. As I say, there are lots of different varieties to choose from, so you could just have a look about and see which one takes your fancy. Next up is the Ficus Benjamina, otherwise known as the weeping fig. And this one can actually grow up to 6 feet tall, so it gets quite a woody stub as well, so it is kind of like having a little tree in your house. These obviously get huge in real life, they are trees, but yeah, indoors you can get this to grow pretty big as well. I mean, I'm only 5 feet tall, so if I think what 6 feet would be, it'd be way bigger than me. So yeah, it gets fairly big, and it's also a super easy to care for plant again. I'd highly recommend this one. I wouldn't say it was exactly fast growing, for me at least. It's probably medium, it's not slow, it's not fast. It's just kind of middle of the road, but it's a really good plant. This is the variegated version. You can also get a couple of other versions too, so yeah, highly recommend this one. And finally we have the Dieffenbachia, and this one can grow up to 6 feet tall. It does eventually get quite leggy, and you get kind of leaves at the top. Mine is still fairly juvenile, but yeah, this does grow to 6 feet tall, and it's quite a big plant. I'm kind of looking forward to when mine gets to that big, but yeah, it gets quite a woody stem, and yeah, it's definitely going to be a statement plant. Just make sure you've got the room for it. Thanks for joining me today, guys. I really appreciate it. Give the video a like if you enjoyed it, and hit that subscribe button for more planty content. And until next time, guys, take care of your plants and take care of yourself.